What is up, everybody? Ryan Thomas here live in One Buffalo, New York for another episode of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Very excited to be back on. You know what? I missed you guys. I missed being on the show, talking all things sports, whether it's the Buffalo Bills, whether it's the NFL, whether it's mixed martial arts, UFC, Bellator, or boxing. I've missed being on this side of the microphone where you can only hear my voice. Can't see my face. Sorry, ladies. Can't see my face. But I am excited to dive into today's episode, to say the very least. There is a lot to talk about. Over the last week or so, since I recapped Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, a lot of stuff has happened in sports, and I have been very, very busy diving into this 2020 NFL draft and not jumping the gun. I feel like not naming any names out there, not throwing shade at anyone in particular, just from the sense of coverage pertaining to the NFL draft. Each and every year, I feel like so many media entities jump the gun. Pretty much every media entity jumps the gun. This draft isn't until late April. We're a couple months away, and yet everybody's putting out mock drafts. Everybody's trying to guess which team is going to take which player, and free agency hasn't even happened yet. It's silly. It's foolish, and it makes these analysts, writers, whoever they are, look a little bit unprofessional. And I say that with all due respect. I'm not saying it to throw shade at anyone. I'm just saying it that we don't even know the full information yet. We don't know what directions these 32 teams are going to go in from the free agency point, from the point of free agency and beyond. Free agency in March is what tells the tale of what a team could go after via the draft. If a team signs Andy Dalton, or not, that's just hypothetically, if a team signs Phillip Rivers to a 3-year deal, chances are they're not going to go quarterback first round. If a team goes out and trades for Tom Brady, chances are they're not going to take a quarterback first round. A lot of things like that I think, those are some specific examples, but I could go on and give you examples like that. But in studying the 2020 NFL draft and looking at it player for player, reading reports and reading strengths and weaknesses, reports on these players, checking game tape, watching the strengths and weaknesses of these players and seeing how they would match up in terms of the NFL level, how would they translate from the collegiate to the pro level. I came to the realization that the NFL Scouting Combine, which takes place every February, is a flawed system. These skill competitions, if you will, these drills, if you will, that test the athleticism or lack thereof of any and all individuals that are invited from the collegiate circuit to join the National Football League. It's a flawed system. They talk about each and every year which wide receiver can run the same 40 time as John Ross, which wide receiver, which running back can run a 40 like Chris Johnson, which this, that, the other. It's, to me, it has become almost mind-numbing in the sense that name me one player in the history of professional football that put forth a out-of-sight, out-of-mind scouting combine performance, whether they benched a bunch of reps, whether they had a sick 40 time, whether they had a great vertical, no matter what it is, you name it. Name me one player that had a phenomenal out-of-sight, out-of-mind scouting combine that actually went on to have a Hall of Fame illustrious career. I can't name one. I can't think of a single player that had a great scouting combine that went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Jerry Rice, one of the greatest receivers, probably the greatest receiver, my opinion he is, of all time. And did he have a great 40 time? No, he did not. Was Jerry Rice fast? No, he was not. Tom Brady, Do we even have to go there? No, we don't. Put forth one of the most awkward scouting combines you would ever put together. Tested at the bottom of the barrel in almost every drill. And the famous photo of Tom Brady standing at the scouting combine. He looked like your local, I don't know, looked like a no-name guy. Looked like somebody that, local insurance salesman, I guess you could say. And that's not a knock on insurance salesman. He was in good shape, but not NFL shape. You get my point. This scouting combine is old. It doesn't show or prove to me that player A, B, C, D, E is special for these reasons. Really, it tells a tale of what we already know. It tells us a tale that these players are fast, these players are strong, these players can jump, quarterback 1 can throw better than quarterback 2. It really doesn't tell us what we don't already know, what our eyes can't already see on what really matters. And what really matters is the game tape. Game tape of game week 1, game tape of game week 2, game tape of game week 3. That's what really matters. Inside the hash marks, on the gridiron, what does this player bring to the table? What did this player bring to his collegiate team? And what could this player bring to the pro level in the National Football League for an NFL franchise, in particular, we'll just say the Buffalo Bills? That's what really counts to me. That's where I really find out what a player is made of. When I'm looking at where I should rate a player or how I should rate a player, that's what really dictates that. The tape. Nothing more, nothing less. The scouting combine, a fair, I guess you could say, measurement of how athletic a player could be. But does that translate to NFL dominance? Does that translate to NFL all-time greatness? No, it does not. No, it does not. So that's how I open the show. And there are a lot of parameters to an NFL offseason. And in particular, all of these analysts, mock draft analysts out there that are throwing out these mock drafts here in February, here now in March. March 1st is the date today. And as we sit here March 1st, 2020, we say to ourselves, well, which team is going to go after Tua? Which team is going to go after this player? Which team is going to trade up? I'm not even in that headspace yet. I have tried to somewhat join that headspace, get into that headspace and bounce ideas off of colleagues within the Trainwreck Sports brand or within the folks on Twitter. And I just can't do it. And I can't do it because it's silly and it doesn't make sense to do it right now. It doesn't make sense to go on that initiative and go forward and tell the world who I think these teams will draft and why, and who I think these teams should draft and why. Not yet. I'm not done doing that yet. I'm diving as deep as I can into that, and beyond that, right now I can only say that when I look at the team that I cover on the podcast and within the Trainwreck Sports brand, the Buffalo Bills, I say to myself, the Bills are at a distinct advantage heading into this offseason, and it is that they have needs that are obvious to them and obvious to the other teams in the league. They need that physical, game-breaking wide receiver. They added 2 really solid pieces in this past offseason and last year's free agency in John Brown and Cole Beasley. But they need to add more to the team than just those 2 guys. They need to bring more to the table. They need to bring more firepower to this offense. And that's obvious. What is also obvious is you have a really elite corner on this roster in Tre'Davious White that I think is the elite of the elite. He stands among the short list of the best corners in the game. That creates a new dimension for the Buffalo Bills that they haven't had in a little while. you have Trey White at corner, and you have a really solid safety tandem that feeds off of one another in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. But if you could bring in a corner to pair alongside Trey White, then you're in really good shape. That brings the defense to a whole new level. That puts the secondary as a unit within the defense on a whole nother level. And it also provides the Bills with a position that they really need. Levi Wallace was suspect at best. Kevin Johnson, in the limited role that he had, I thought was pretty good, but is he a cornerback too? Probably not. Do you need somebody more game-breaking? Yes, you do at that position to pair with Trey White. The next question is, as we really trudge along here in this Buffalo Bills offseason preview, what will the Buffaloes do with Shaq Lawson? Now, I like Shaq Lawson. I felt as if Shaq Lawson deserved an extension, or will deserve an extension, but a lot of people feel too little too late. You know, he took a few years to get his legs underneath him, and mind you, they did draft him in the previous regime, led by Doug Whaley and Rex Ryan at the time, that they draft Shaq Lawson knowing that he had a shoulder injury. They drafted him knowing that the shoulder injury would take time to heal and that he would not be effective probably the first year and a half of his career. And that was the case. But Shaq Lawson this past season alongside Ed Oliver, with Ed Oliver drawing the double teams that he does, being that he is just that type of freak on the defensive line, Shaq Lawson really was able to get some one-on-one matchups. Shaq Lawson was really able to get the one-on-one matchups, break through that, and also chase down the quarterback. Did he have a great amount of... Did he have 14 sacks? No. Did he make clutch plays? Was he a great run stuffer as a defensive end? Yeah, he was, I thought. I thought he had a great season. So, Buffalo should re-sign him, in my opinion. Will they re-sign him? I don't know. If they do, great. If they don't, you have Yannick Ngakoue out there. Buffalo could possibly try to bring him in. Or Buffalo could try to bring in a defensive end from the draft that they feel could be here and help them for many years to come. It could be even an upgrade over Shaq Lawson in the scouting department's eyes. I don't know if there is that guy out there outside of a Chase Young or somebody like that. But, hey, I trust Brandon Beane and the scouting department of the Buffalo Bills because these last few drafts have been phenomenal and are the focal point reason as to why the Bills have made the playoffs within 2 of the last 3 seasons. Look at the talent that they brought in these drafts. Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, Trey White, Deion Dawkins, Devin Singletary. Cody Ford, did he have some issues this season as a rookie? Yeah, he did, but I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's going to get better. I think the same thing for a lot of this Bills roster. Are they young? Yes. Will they get better? Is there room to grow? 100%. 100%. And in previous podcast episodes, one in particular where I talked about whether the Buffalo Bills should go after experience or youth, I felt like that was a captivating episode. I felt like I really brought my A game on that one and made a lot of solid points that I don't want to dive into just due to the fact that I recorded that and put some time and effort into it. And I want people to really dive into that. But we have a window of opportunity right now. As Buffalo Bills fans, we have a window of opportunity that needs to be seized. We have to seize that opportunity, take that bull by the horns. Pun most definitely intended that the Buffalo Bills can win the AFC East in 2020 with or without number 12, Tom Brady. With or without him. You have a quarterback that is one of the main headlines in the NFL right now. What is going to happen to Tom Brady? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I've been saying it for months. I've been saying it weeks, months, and years that Tom Brady would eventually go to another team. He will not finish his career a New England Patriot. If Joe Montana could go from the 49ers to the Chiefs, if Peyton Manning could go from the Colts to the Broncos, if Brett Favre could go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings, anything is possible. And I do not want to hear the excuse of, oh, well, all those situations were different. No, they are not. I never thought I'd see Peyton Manning in another uniform. I never thought I'd see Brett Favre in another uniform. I never thought I'd see Tom Brady in another uniform. 3-4 years ago, I never thought that. But these last couple years, I thought this is staring them in the face. Tom Brady is going to be 43 heading into this upcoming season. He's older. He's not as good as he once was. And I only say that not as a direct insult to him. I say that as Tom Brady is not as good as he once was on the Patriots, on this current New England Patriots team. Could Tom Brady be even better than he is right now on another team with more around him? On 150%. I believe that Tom Brady could have a phenomenal season this next year if he is on the right team. What is the right team? We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But for now, diving back and circling back to the Buffalo Bills, with or without Tom Brady, you got a shot at winning this division. With or without going against Tom Brady, you got a shot. No matter who the Patriots replace Tom Brady with, it could be Andy Dalton, it could be Cam Newton, whoever the hell they replace him with, I don't know. Let's just say Andy Dalton, because I think that that's actually pretty likely. You have to understand that whether Tom Brady is there or not, we know one guy that is there. The true GOAT, Bill Belichick. As long as Belichick is the head coach of the Patriots, they will be a playoff contender. It is what it is. They won with Matt Castle. They won with Jimmy G. They won with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I rest my case. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Look at what this New England Patriots defense was doing throughout the 2019 season. Look what they were doing. It's pretty interesting, to say the least. I truly feel that, not from a biased perspective, from an honest, open perspective, that the Buffalo Bills do have what it takes to win this division. And it's not because I am born and raised in Western New York, Buffalo, New York. It is because I believe the Jets and Dolphins are not where they need to be. They are nowhere near where Buffalo is as a franchise. One thing I know for sure is that in the last 4 years since I've started this podcast, I have dove deep into every single franchise within the National Football League, deeper than I ever did before. I was forced to do that. I was forced to look into these other teams, find what makes these other teams tick, find what makes these other teams special, and dissect, poke, prod, and figure it out. And within that, I have found that the New York Jets made a grave mistake bringing in Adam Gase. The New York Jets are continuing at this very minute to still make that mistake by keeping Adam Gase as the head coach and as a man of power within that organization. And with all due respect to the Miami Dolphins, obviously we know very well that the Dolphins are undergoing a rebuild, but turn up the volume, folks. I'm actually going to compliment the Miami Dolphins for the season that they had in 2019. I thought it was remarkable. Brian Flores is a legitimate coach. He's very likable. He brings out the best in his players, whether they have uber talent or not. He's always bringing out the most in his players. You really wonder what Brian Flores could do on a team with some talent on it, bringing it in via NFL draft, bringing it in via free agency. You know they got cap space. You know they got picks. Miami is going to get a massive wave of talent brought on to the team. The tide will turn in Miami. And I think that in the next few years, future-wise, I look at the future of the Dolphins. I say I see a lot there. I look at the future of the New York Jets, and I say I don't. They have a running back that is only going to get older. Sam Darnold with Adam Gase, I'm just not feeling that head coach quarterback clicking dynamic that we've seen from successful teams in years past. Dungy and Peyton, Belichick and Brady, Tomlin and Big Ben. I'm just not seeing that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty positive that I'm right. I do see that dynamic with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. I do see a dynamic of progression within the Buffalo Bills franchise. 3 seasons ago now, they went 9-7, made the playoffs. Season after that, they went 6-10 with a poor offensive line and a rookie quarterback with players on that offense that were quitting, like Kelvin Benjamin, Charles Clay, just collecting a check. A non-existent run game outside of Josh Allen. Their leading rusher was LaShawn McCoy at 537 yards. And then the year after that, this past season, they go 10-6, make the playoffs. They lost, one and done. It was a terrible loss against Houston, being up 16-0 at one point, only to lose 22-19, I believe. My memory serves me right on that one. But I can't even go into that. I can't even go into that because that hurt. It hurts too much to reopen that wound. But we know what this Buffalo Bills team needs. Outside of a competent offensive coordinator by the name of Brian Daboll that they don't have, this Buffalo Bills team needs a dimension to their offense that it just does not have, and that is a wide receiver with a physical speed, skill set, someone that's a target, someone that has hands, somebody that can make catches from out of nowhere. Easy to say, hard to find. But that's what Buffalo needs. You got to find some sort of player out there that resembles that. As far as the running game goes, I remember analysts years ago were saying that the running back is dead, that a running back doesn't matter. You bet your ass they were wrong. A running back does matter. A running back is one of the most important positions in the game outside of offense. Now, does that mean you draft one in the first round? No. But it does mean you scout the class with a fine-tooth comb and find which running back out of the class is the steal. Find the one that you think could be that immediate impact guy in the third, fourth round like you did with Devin Singletary in this past year's draft. Even if you have to reach for a running back in the second round, you got to do what you got to do. You got to make this offense better. If this offense is made better in this offseason, then you have a realistic shot at winning the AFC East. And that to me is what is next. Not, we need to make the playoffs. You can make the playoffs without winning your division. The Bills have done it twice in the last 3 years. But the easiest way to make the playoffs is if you win your division. And by God's grace, if this upcoming season results in Buffalo, the Bills hosting a playoff game, God have mercy on the soul of whatever team that we're playing against that day. Because that is going to be a raucous environment in cold weather in Western New York, in Orchard Park, New York, and it will be a hell of a spectacle. Because Buffalo Bills fans have not seen a home playoff game, I believe, since 1996, 1995. I sit here at 27, almost 28-year-old man. I was 3 going on 4 when that was going on. So that just goes to show you how far the Bills need to go in order to get back to where they were. How far back you can go and literally look at each and every season of Bills history since, say, wow, they were nowhere near close. Now they have a nucleus. Now they have young guys that they've brought in that are immediate impact guys that buy into Sean McDermott, that buy into the city, and that the Bills fans, the Bills Mafia in particular, can truly rally around. I love that. I believe that free agency this year will not be as active as it was the year before. I think free agency last year had to be active. That active, yes. But this free agency, not so much. You got to plug and play. Plug and fill the hole. Anything more than that, I think would be out of character of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. But nonetheless, I am thrilled for this offseason. I laughed my tail off at the thought that the Cincinnati Bengals gave the franchise tag to A.J. Green. I think that's ridiculous. But hey, that's the Bengals, not the Bills. Folks, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning into the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. You can find the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. You can also find it on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast Facebook page. Pretty soon, we'll be getting this podcast linked up on the Trainwreck Sports Spotify and SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts account as well. Cannot wait for that. I think that'll be phenomenal. But until next time, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, if you want to communicate, you can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Thomas Take. Thanks for tuning in.